And here and welcome back to another Ask Me Anything video. First question we've got is how to overcome my struggles with mental health. I want to change but I don't know what to do, where to start. Any suggestions? So the first step I would say is identify specifically what the struggle is. When you can get clear on the issue, you can then work on it. If you have this kind of hazy, broad, say, problem, as in mental health, like that's massive. Get clear on what the specific problem is. It might be 1, 2, 3, it might be a whole list of things, right? But if you can list them out, you can really get clear on what the root cause is. So that's step one. Step two is, well, where and when does it come from? There's something that's likely happened in your past that's a past negative experience that you've not found the upside to, and that might sound a bit extreme, so bear with me, right? But when you get clear on what the moments are, you can start to really get clear that it was this moment. Again, it's all about specificity rather than just being broad general. Get clear, ask the questions, look inwards. Once you get clear on some moments where they're coming from, the third thing is, well, whatever the thing is, what have been the upsides from then until now? So again, that's not a normal way of thinking, right? These questions are kind of adaptations from the DiMartini method. And it's a series of questions that if you ask and answer them, it will start to balance out your perceptions of these past negative experience. There's a saying, there's nothing that your mortal body can experience that your mortal soul can't live. So no matter, it's not about what happens to you, it's how you perceive what happens to you, and you can control your perceptions. So in terms of overcoming a mental health struggle, get clear, get specific, and start investigating. That's my take. First question. So, number two, I struggle to manage my time with work, family, and my social life. I have low self-confidence and I often judge myself due to my build, and I want to get into the gym. So it's not so much a question, but it's a kind of situation, so let me unravel it. So, managing time with work, family, social life, that being a struggle, what makes it a struggle? What is it you're struggling to do around that? We all have a set of priorities, a set of values, the things that are most to least important to us. Now, this individual, I'm going to assume work, family, social life are important things. However, they want to get into the gym, but the gym isn't in their top 3 highest priorities. So I'm going to again assume that that's a struggle, right? You're going to struggle to get into the gym if you don't have a high value on gym or your health, your fitness. So to change that, how will getting into the gym help you or be a benefit to your work, your family, and your social life? If you can start to see how this thing you want to do is actually a benefit and it enhances the things that are most important to you, rather than get in the way, inhibit, and I was going to say destruct, instruct, obstruct, they get in the way. If you see that as getting in the way of the things that are more important to you, you're going to struggle to get it done. Whereas if you can start to ask the question and see the links between doing this thing and the things that are most important to you, it gets done. So in terms of the low self-confidence and judging yourself due to your build, that's maybe another question. So let me treat it as another question, right? I have low self-confidence and I often judge myself due to my build. When you're judging yourself, you're not seeing the full picture. You're looking at what's on the surface, but you're most likely not appreciating why you're in that situation, why you have the build that you have. Here's the thing, your build is perfect for your priorities. Work, family, socialising. Again, gym, fitness, training, exercise of some kind. If it's not a high priority, then that's going to be reflected in your appearance. I think I'm in good shape because my training is a priority. it gets done. My body's perfect for my priorities, and so is yours. So judging yourself, just beware you're not seeing the full picture, and that's why you judge. You're potentially comparing to someone else, which I think is actually one of the other questions. Come to that again. When you compare yourself to someone else, then you're going to have lower self-confidence because you're looking at them and like, oh, look at their body, they look great. And then by default, you kind of look down on your own and you judge it and you beat yourself up because you're admiring in this person what they've got, and that then puts you down and dismisses what you've got. So then you don't appreciate what you've got and you almost overestimate how valuable the thing is that they've got. But consider the time, the energy it takes for them to do that. Consider the time and energy it takes for you to work, to make money, to spend time with your family and keep up with your social relations, interactions, if you want to call it that. Just see the full picture. Consider, if you see someone in shape, don't compare yourself. Don't beat yourself up by looking at what they've got and what you've got, but instead reflect, what have you got? Or you can even start to think, well, the thing that you admire in them, what specifically is it? And when do you display or demonstrate the same or similar thing? Next question. Why set goals? I don't see the point in New Year's resolutions. I would rather just do it. New Year's resolutions, that's an interesting topic. Like, I used to always just set them for the sake of setting them because everybody's like, right, oh, what's your New Year's resolutions? As if you should have a New Year's resolution. You don't need to, right? But why set goals? Because what's the alternative if you don't set goals? If you don't think about in the future the outcomes that you're wanting to bring? If you don't pay energy, time, and thought to those future outcomes that you're working towards, then by default you are aimless. You're wandering aimlessly. You don't give meaning to the work that you're doing now. So why set goals? It's because, well, you have the power to decide. You control perceptions, decisions and actions. Well, this is a decision. You're making a decision now for future you. And then that, once you've got an idea and you've paid, say, thought into a year from now, 3 years from now, 5, 10, 50, right? Well, that's a bit extreme, but when you set that intention, what I've found is, well, naturally, you start making your way towards it. Like a heat-seeking missile, I say this to my clients all the time, it's like when you set your intention, you act like a heat-seeking missile. You might not even look at the goal, you might not even think about the goal, but if it's truly aligned with what you want, i.e. your values, what's most important to you, say your purpose, back to the example with work and family, well, your purpose, if you have a high value in that, your purpose is going to revolve around that. So if you set a goal in alignment with that, you're going to achieve it, right? Eventually. So why set goals? Is because, well, you act like a heat-seeking missile to fulfill that intention over time. If you don't, you won't. And I can imagine that you've maybe had a painful experience with goals. I think most people have. I certainly have. When you set up fantasies, as in desired outcomes that have more advantage than disadvantage, more pleasure than pain, more upside than downside. If you think that by achieving this goal your life's going to be better, I'll be happy when. False. It's not. Think back to a time where you've done that. It's no better. Do you think it might be? It's not. You're just not seeing the full work that's going to go in to you achieving that. So to overcome that, that's where the planning comes in. So a true goal has objectives and actions, and you can see how you can move from where you are to where you want to be. If you don't have this clear plan of action, it's a fantasy. If it doesn't align with your goals, it's a fantasy, and that sets you up for failure. Like pie in the sky thinking you fling a pie up, you're like, right, let's go, and then boom, splat, or you, because you never set real objectives. You set up a fantasy, you beat yourself up because you're like, why am I not achieving this? I set my goal, I want this. No, you don't. You don't really, because if you did, you'd break it down into objectives. You'd have a plan, you'd be taking action. So recognise the feedback. Maybe off on a bit of tangent there, hope that helps. Next question. How to stop letting depression and anxiety holding me back. So I'll offer a bit of perspective on depression and anxiety as I learned from Dr. John DeMartini, somebody I talk an awful lot about, human behaviour specialist. And this, my perspective, it's more to really empower you and help you understand in a more simple kind of format, if you like. Depression is a comparison of your current reality to an unrealistic fantasy. So what I mean by that is, say, like I mentioned with goals before, say you're here in this situation, but you want to be over there, in this better place, doing better things. The reality is, it's no better. You're exaggerating the upside. You're minimising yourself by comparison. Thinking that it's better out there, or it'll be better when this happens, or when you get this or that. It could be a job, it could be a family, it could be money, it could be the body that you want. If you think things are going to be better when, you're setting yourself up for feeling depressed. That's one part of it, right? Might be relatable, might not. Another part is, I've heard this before, I think it was like Jim Carrey or something. It was something along the lines of the personas. So not embracing your authentic self. So when you're being inauthentic, which happens when you don't know what your values are, who you truly are, where you've been, where you're going. If you don't know, say, your purpose and who you are, then we often have these personas, these facades of who we want to be, right? So we act a certain way. We've all done it. We all have multiple faces. That is another way that this depression can come, because you need deep rest from this character that you're playing. Now that, I'm pretty sure that was Jim Carrey, but hopefully it resonates. So how to stop letting that hold you back? Well, be grateful for what you've got, be thankful for what you've got and where you're at. Know who you are, know where you're going. That's my best advice. The anxiety. So anxiety, what I learned was, it's the same as a fear. It acts in the same way as a fear in your mind, and it's based on, again, a past negative experience. So to stop letting that hold you back, again, identify what specifically it is in your mind that's causing anxiety. When you get anxious, what is going on in your mind? What's the content? Why is it there? What's the context, right? When you get clear on that, again, you can work on it. If you have just both, I have anxiety. Well, how can you work on that? Why do you have anxiety? Where does it come from? What's causing it? This is the questions I'd be asking you, myself, to identify it, uncover it, get it on the surface instead of burying it down. And when you have that on the surface, you can then look at it objectively. And again, find the upsides to those past negative experiences. Now that can be painful to look at, but what's the alternative? Bury it, and then continue to feel anxious when something reminds you of that past experience. It's either pain now and confronting it, or pain later by delaying it. So to stop letting depression and anxiety hold you back, get help. Help yourself. Be willing to confront those past negative experiences and examine your mind. Look internal and just see what comes up. Write it in. And then balance your perspectives. Never pain without a pleasure, never a drawback without a benefit, never an upside without a downside, never a positive without a negative. So until your perception of that experience that's causing that is equal and balanced, you'll continue to have this feedback of depression, feedback of anxiety, whenever something happens now in the future that reminds you of that past negative experience. I hope that helps. Next question, how to break out of my comfort zone and stop worrying about going against the grain to appeal to other people. So, break out your comfort zone makes me think that you're stuck there. If you feel stuck in your comfort zone, then I'm going to assume that you're avoiding challenges and opportunities and bringing yourself out there. So you might be, say, minimising yourself, shrinking, and say maybe avoiding the challenges, which it's a vicious cycle if you get stuck in it. And I think we all naturally, by default, want to go for the easy option, the comfortable option. Of course, why would we want to choose a challenging and painful thing, the thing that's hard? Well, I'll tell you why. Because if it aligns with what you want, who you are, where you're going, if it has meaning, I'd listened to this in Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, and it was talking about pain and purpose. Pain without purpose is, I can't even say the word. I'm not even going to try and say it. You know, I do know how to say it. It's pretty sick if you think about it, right? It's like you want pain for no purpose, right? Okay, I'm not going to judge it, but it's a bit fucked up, right? Whereas if pain has purpose attached to it, i.e. you're going to study so you can pass this course, you're going to prepare for this interview so you can get the job, you're going to go to the gym so you can get the body, you're going to prepare your music, right? It's painful, challenging things. Change is challenging. So when these challenges have purpose, you can endure that pain of that challenge a whole lot easier because you can remind yourself why. When the why is big enough, the house take care of themselves. When you remind yourself why you're doing this thing, you're like, that meaning gives power to you now so that you can confront those challenges, because you can see quite clearly it's like, well, this is necessary. This is on the way to where I want to go. It's not in the way. It's not something to be avoided. It's something to be confronted. And there's a saying by Ryan Holiday, actually, a book even, the obstacle is the way. Simply put. So be willing to do the hard thing. Confront the obstacle, the one thing that's holding you back right now. What is it? You know what it is. Write that down and get a plan of action in place to confront it and overcome it. Worrying about going against the grain to appeal to other people. This is quite funny. Like, I get a bit of feedback telling me that I like to think I'm pretty good at this, right? Where I will speak my truth regardless of how it makes someone else feel. I don't say something to make the other person feel good, even if I know that this person's not going to agree with what I say. If it's my truth, it's the thing to be said. And I'd like to think that long term, people learn to respect and appreciate that. Whereas if you just people please, 1, you piss yourself off. 2, you're going to piss that person off. Eventually, short term, they're happy. Long term, they'll learn to love you. Or not. I don't know. This is just my take, right? So, going against the grain, well, I think in any kind of I think family dynamic and social dynamics and just relationships in general, you're going to get support and challenge, acceptance and rejection. The more supported you get, the more challenge you're going to get. The more accepted you get, the more rejected you're going to get. That's just a fact of life. You're going to get both. Try to get one without the other is futile. It's like try to get pain without a pleasure. They're both inseparable opposites, and the sooner you can understand that, the sooner you can be like, it's okay. Accept that not everybody's going to accept you, accept that people aren't always going to be happy with what you say and do. But the bottom line is, again, another saying, I think it was Dr. John D. Martini said it, I'd rather have the whole world against me than my own soul. So, go against yourself or go against others. I'm going to choose others every time. That's just me. So, how to overcome gym anxiety and stop comparing myself to everyone else. Get clear on what the source of anxiety is. Like, what is it? What's the content in your mind when you get anxious, when you think about the gym? Get clear on that. Once you're clear on that, it might be one thing, might be two, might be multiple, right? List it, whatever it is, whatever comes to mind. Once you're clear on what the source of anxiety is, you can start to find, well, what are the upsides if that were to happen? It's going to be challenged, it's going to be painful, right? But what's going to be the upside to you facing that and embracing it? Say it was a past negative experience, well, where and when was it? What happened? Again, get some context, go back to the moment in your mind, and once you're there, well, ask the question again, what were the upsides to that moment? Because there's something you're not seeing that's causing that feedback of anxiety. What is it? Think, introspect, look within, you've got the answers there if you just ask and answer the questions. I can stop comparing myself to everyone else. I mentioned this before, well, recognise and appreciate your values, where you are already, say, confident, competent, where you're already thriving, where you're most energised, where you have the most discipline, where you're most focused, where you're most driven. When you get clear on what that is for you, you can then start to appreciate it. But if you don't know what it is, then you can't really appreciate it. And then you start looking, but this person is this and this person is that, and you're like, all these people are reminding you of what you're not seeing in yourself, so you compare. And again, you're putting them up, you're putting yourself down when you seem to exaggerate them. It's like, oh, that's much better, I wish I had that. What did it take for them to get that? I had this conversation about like just being in shape, right? You go into the gym for the first time, you're walking by, you see somebody, fucking both, or it's a lassie, she's like, that makes a shape, right? But then you look at yourself and you're like, fuck, I wish I had that shape. How long has it took them to get in that shape? Do you think they're just born and popped into that shape? Or do you think they just came out of the womb in that shape? Of course not. Think how much time and energy they've spent to get there, to get that. You're comparing yourself who's just stepped foot in a gym, you're maybe been in the gym for an hour, this person's probably in the gym for more than 10,000. How is that even comparable? So there's something you're not seeing when you compare yourself to someone else, but I think why we compare to other people, it's a reminder of what is possible. If we admire it in them, we have it in us. So recognise where and when you do the same or similar thing, whatever it is that you admire. It might be their body, right? Recognise that you can have that, but it takes work. Are you willing to do what it takes to get that for long enough? If so, then eventually you'll get it, but you're not going to get it like that, right? Hopefully that helps. Hopefully I answered the question. The last one, I actually wrote this myself. Somebody else, I seen somebody today, I was in Costa, and somebody came up and they were like, I seen your video. Is that so what, you're a life coach now? And I was like, no. I mean, I'm a mental and physical transformation coach, and what that means is I help people transform their way of thinking so that their body follows. Again, it's all about empowering your perceptions, your decisions, and your actions. So I take this kind of human behaviour, universal law approach to this stuff. Just based on what I've learned from my own personal development, it's really kind of what I share, and it's what I've found works. So I wouldn't say a life coach, however, I do like to think that there's not many people who I couldn't benefit with the knowledge, the wisdom I've acquired, with the skills, and with the work that I've been doing on myself, it's pretty universal, because we're all human. Like, whether or not you're a CEO or a student, whether you're fucking a bodybuilder or you're just starting out in the gym, whether you're a busy nurse or a single full-time parent, I mean, it's applicable to everybody, right? While I focus on the physical and the mental areas of life, I mean, there is things that I've learned around, say, spiritual, vocational, financial, social, familial. That's 7 areas of life. So I wouldn't say a life coach, because the focus is on mental, physical, health and well-being, to get your mind balanced, to get you centred, to get your authentic self out, to move through the judgments, the stored baggage for the past, and just to let the real you shine, so that you can live a content, fulfilling life. Why would I do that? That's what I've done for myself. It started off with the training for my body, how I looked, of course, but then I kept going because it's something deeper than that. It's a part of me. It keeps me centred. It helps me take all this pent up energy that comes with the stresses of life and channel it into the gym in a productive way rather than a destructive way. So the physical side of things, that's one thing, but then the questions you ask yourself, the learning, the understanding, that's a whole other subject in itself. And when you bring them both together, mental, the physical, well, this is what I've done over the past, training, 8 years, personal development, 4. So I've wrapped that up in a nice pretty bow, and I'm like, here you go. You don't need to spend 4, 8 years, thousands of pounds, thousands of hours. Come work with me 12 weeks and I'll streamline it for you. I'll show you what you need, where you need it. And here's the thing, I pay for coaches. I pay a lot of money for coaches still, because it works. Coaching is a fast track way to get what you want. So rather than struggling alone and try to find your own way, pay for somebody who's got what you want, learn from them, take action, and save yourself a lot of time and heartache. So I don't know if that really answers the question, but are you a life coach now? Aye, if you want to call it that. I'm still a personal trainer, by the way, but I like talking mindset. So that'll do us. Thank you very much for watching this video, this Ask Me Anything. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'll see you in the next one.